Back, everybody. Before Megan continues with her lecture on Prague, just wanted to remind you that there are 2 shows remaining for the concert report. One is going to be this Friday, don't forget, at the back room at Cat's Cradle. That's John Howie. And then the final show option is going to be the 25th, so next Saturday. So those are the 2 remaining options that you have for the concert report. Yes?
Does that include ones we can do for the extra credit?
Extra credit reports, if you choose to do them, can be any show that you want to go to. Just please let me know what it is, just so you don't go to see, like...
Are those also
Are you really kidding me? Shut up. Did you hear me talking? And if you have a question that I was going to say and you just started blabbing, I'm not going to repeat it. Yes?
Are the extra credit reports also due November 6th?
I haven't decided yet. I'll post them and I'll make an announcement. Don't worry about it. Okay? So you have 2 options left for the official concert report. This Friday, next Saturday. Extra credit concert reports, if you do decide to do them, it can be anything. Just send me a note letting me know this is the show that I want to see. Follow the same guidelines that are on the syllabus for the graded concert report as for the extra credit concert reports. What I will do is I'll go ahead and put up assignments on Sakai where you can upload the extra credit concert reports. And again, I'll make sure that everybody is notified well in advance before they are due. So, we'll finish up with progressive rock, and then we will segue into singer-songwriters, and Gina will be leading that discussion today. So, if you could please give your undivided attention to Megan as she talks a little bit more about Prague.
Can you guys hear me okay? All right, good. All right, I'm going to be moving on from where we left off last week. We left off with talking about Pink Floyd, Comfortably Numb, the idea of a concept album and so forth. But just to recap on some essential concepts here, once again, as a reminder to all of you, progressive rock is about an aesthetic where the rock musician is treated as and is received as an artist. And adding to that aesthetic, adding to the precepts of that concept, the music within the progressive rock construct is music for deep listening. It's not music for clubs. It's music where you would experience a track and really give it some careful thought, okay? So some of the points that I stressed when we finished up last week are key influences. Progressive rock draws on a number of influences, but 2 of the most important of those are classical music and psychedelia. And so some of these things will be familiar to you at this point, but coming from sort of a classical music spectrum, we get elements like musicality and virtuosity. This is extraordinary playing ability or vocal ability. One of the things I stressed is the incredibly huge ranges that you get in lead vocalists, such as Robert Plant. Also with the performance ability of guitarists and keyboard players, drummers, so forth. Unique or extended musical forms. We saw a couple examples of this. One example of an extended form that we looked at was Roundabout's Yes. We saw that although that form seems to reference a compound AABA structure, it's much more extended and complicated with a huge internal B section made up of 3 subcomponents, uses of different bridges instead of use of a chorus and so forth. But it's referencing back to a form you have seen before. And then we also looked at Comfortably Numb and finished by talking about how the formal aspect of that doesn't seem to reference any of those cookie-cutter styles we talked about before. All right. Use of orchestral and otherwise unique instrumental timbres, experimental timbres. A lot of these you'll hear are produced in the studio and produced by a new instrument that I spent a lot of time talking about, which is the mode. All right, we're going to come back to that in a minute. But then drawing on psychedelic influences, you saw again, these thought-provoking topics, some of them engaged social commentary, longer tracks, longer instrumental passages, and again, studio effects like playing tapes backwards and splicing tapes together. But just to really really stress the importance of the Moog within the context of progressive rock, I'd like to show you one more video. This is, I'm just going to pull it up from here actually. What you're going to see in this video, the video will begin with the creator of the Moog synthesizer, Robert Moog. We'll talk a little bit about, about his development of this instrument and also the importance of Emerson, Lake and Palmer in being one of the first rock groups to really bring the Moog into their sound and to do a lot with it. As a reminder, the song Lucky Man is one song that really features the Moog and is the first one to kind of feature it in a rock context to the extent to which you hear it there. So let me just play this for you.
It gave me a test present. And it turned out to be Lucky Man. I thought to myself, woo! And Keith explained that this was one of the first things that he done with the synthesizer. First time I saw Keith live was at Galen Park. And I knew for sure that he was a musician who was going to revolutionize pop music through his incredibly creative and virtuosic use of our synthesizer stuff. I think this is a good time for me to stop talking. And yes. Ladies and gentlemen, Keith Emerson.
Curiosity, how many of you played piano keyboards as a kid? I played piano when I was a kid too, and all of my siblings learned guitar, and I have to say that for the longest time I thought somehow that, my playing the piano was way less cool. For those of you who played the piano, hopefully this dispels any such notion. We're going to move on and talk about one more British band, which was an exponent of the progressive rock style. This is Genesis. And Genesis is a band that existed for a long time. They had some fluctuation within the members, but at this time period, starting in the late 1960s, moving into the 70s, its members were, in order from left to right here, Tony Banks, Phil Collins, Peter Gabriel, Steve Hackett, and Mike Rutherford. And I'm going to show you a little video of their of a performance from their album Foxtrot. Now, there's some things I'd like you to really pay attention to in watching this film. First of all, just going back to those precepts of progressive rock, stylistic elements of progressive rock. Notice what the musicians are doing during this film. Notice the staging. Notice the production of the performance. And as one other thing, see if you can imagine who is in the audience. See if you can figure out what is the audience doing here. All right, just remembering back to the significant influence of classical music. So listen for and watch for those three things. This is an excerpt from Summer's Rain.
Chaos, the battle was like